Hey everybody, welcome back to another week and another episode of Lionheart Radio. Today I'm talking with David Lyman about his nonprofit organization named Team Overwatch. We start talking about the nonprofit and then we get into a whole bunch of other esoteric notions such as how to not be such a dick in your regular life and how to understand people better. This is a little bit different than we typically talk about in Lionheart Radio, but I think it's a really valuable exercise in how to be a better person. So I hope you guys enjoy this one, and without further ado, David Lyman. All right, welcome back to Lionheart Radio. I'm your host, Rick Alexander, founder of Blue Aviv in San Diego, California. And today I'm in San Diego, California, and I am joined by David Lyman. He is the founder of a nonprofit organization named Team Overwatch. David, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
So we were just talking a little bit pre-show about the fact that you are active duty military, which is super cool. We're an active duty military-owned company, brand, everything. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the impetus behind starting a nonprofit, because I'm currently in the midst of looking at starting a nonprofit. So far, it's been an absolute nightmare as far as paperwork goes. So the thing about having an NPO organization is that the IRS makes you earn it. That's what I've kind of started.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to talk about like what it is that drives you forward, why you even wanted to do this in the first place.
So active duty, I've been in the Navy 16 years, a little over 16 years now. Came into EOD community a little over 10 years ago. And really it was like the community that kind of pulled me in. The job was pretty amazing just by default, but like the people that are in it, like the caliber of like integrity and teamwork and you know, brotherhood or sisterhood, you know, what have you, like was just there. And that was something I was craving.
In the community. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what, like in the military, like, you know, I was in the fleet for 4 years, and there's nothing wrong with it. It was just not what I was looking for.
Sure.
It just wasn't giving me that, you know,
fulfillment.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so, you know, I actually got out for about a year, and a recruiter's like, well, what about the reserves? And I was like, nothing to do with the ship. And he's like, well, what about EOD? And this is around 2005.
Okay.
And a platoon detachment is what they called them then, came back from Iraq, and I was like getting their dive gear ready for a dive day. And I was like, so what do you guys do? And gave me kind of a funny look, and then when I learned about it, I was just like, this is it. Like, this is it.
Awesome.
You know, so fast forward to 2014, you know, I've had 3 EOD deployments by then, and just some of the guys I'd seen and just my exposure in the military, it's a very different life being in like the EOD community versus the fleet.
So I want to unpack it just a little bit for the listener, because, you know, a lot of people that are listening to this, we have listeners in other countries, and, you know, all over the world. So EOD is explosive ordnance disposal.
Yep.
You are essentially bomb squad.
Yes, like the Navy's bomb squad. We're on the hook for 5 mission areas, which is somewhat of a daunting task at times, trying to know and be current in our tactics. So we cover chemical, biological, nuclear weapons, surface ordnance, IEDs, and then underwater. Anything underwater basically falls to us. It's just a massive skill set to have, but essentially Navy bomb squad.
Yeah, and in the Navy, it's a special operations unit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then we attach to other elements or assets, units, what have you, in support of them.
Right, of course. And then when they have a demolition scenario, you guys handle it.
Yeah, IEDs, or if they need us to clear piers, or you know, what have you. I mean, we can kind of do it all. Like, we need to be able to do anything the asset we are supporting can do.
Right. Yeah, I just want to make sure the listener knows it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, definitely not. So, you know, around 2013, specifically, there was, you know, a little bit of social media drama about other nonprofits out there.
Veteran-based.
Yeah. And, you know, like the integrity of them versus, you know, how much money goes through to the veterans, how much is spent on salaries. And, you know, you see a lot of, like, I guess I started seeing a lot of the guys that have been hurt, seeing the impacts on their families. Like, well, I mean, if I'm going to, you know, critique how these other nonprofits are doing it, maybe I should get some education.
Right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Put the money in my mouth. Like, well, if I can do better, I mean, I don't know that I can, but let's see what's up. Like, let's try to do something. So I started Team Overwatch. The idea being kind of combining team with so athleticism and Overwatch being a military term, meaning to look over your team, your unit,
sure.
right? Overlooking a unit, protecting them in a way.
Okay.
The mission being we would fundraise through athletics to help families out that weren't maybe getting the help they needed, whether that was insurance isn't paying, it's not paying soon enough, or it's not something that's typically covered, what have you. We wanted to be kind of a safety net for that, or for them.
Yeah.
So we registered the company, then we got a nonprofit status December of 2014. It's me and one other person still.
Nice. Yeah.
We're small. We're really small. And the paperwork, we have, the biggest thing we pay for is probably our lawyers.
Right.
We just want to make sure it's done right, because I have no experience in that.
Right. It's a nightmare. I mean, IRS, I think so many people have abused nonprofit status that
Absolutely.
The IRS just felt like, they're the government in the first place, right?
Yeah,
there's
just no room for error.
Right.
There's no sympathy.
Yeah, right.
And it's not malicious. They don't have time for it. And on top of that, I'm active duty. I have 2 children.
Right.
So I don't have time for it either. I don't want to do it wrong and then have to redo it.
But something you said right there is okay, you guys are small, and people might hear that and they might have a certain connotation with a company or a nonprofit that's small. But I do want to draw light to the fact that large doesn't necessarily mean better.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the Wounded Warrior Project for a second. Well, we don't have to talk about them. Maybe you don't want to mention them by name, but there's a lot of veteran organizations, and this is something that I've become acutely aware of. Because when I ran the Tahoe 200, I raised money for an organization called the Heroes Project. In my mind, I think they really get the mission right, and I really did a lot of time researching the charity. There's a lot of companies, and the Wounded Warrior Project did such a great job branding themselves that they gained so much recognition, and they got a lot of key corporate partnerships.
I'm absolutely jealous of their marketing.
Yeah, right. They crush it.
How could you not be? Yeah. How could you not be?
But then there's a lot of questions about whether that money's going to the right people or not, or to the people that deserve it. And it really sucks because there's a lot of people across from Maine to San Diego that really, their hearts are in the right place. They want to buy things from Under Armour when they have that Wounded Warrior logo, and in their mind they're doing the right thing. And that's just not necessarily the truth. So I just wanted to quickly draw light to the fact that just because you're small doesn't actually equate to better or worse, especially in the nonprofit space.
And if I'm honest about it, that was who sort of inspired me in a way. I was on the bandwagon, those guys are thieves and da-da-da. And, and it's I kind of looked well, how much does a CEO deserve to get paid? I don't know. But really the point was well, if I'm going to judge these guys without knowing anything about what they're doing, maybe I should get educated. So, and so I learned about nonprofits. I read about them. I talked about it with some lawyers. I talked about IP, intellectual property. How can I make a successful nonprofit and keep it where I have, I don't want to say control, it has to be my way, but maintain the mission without getting too big that I can get sort of I guess I just want to make sure that we stay true to the original direction, original
absolutely.
intent.
Sure. Yep.
So myself and my partner, we don't get paid. We don't take payout.
Okay.
That'll probably change as we grow. I mean, we're gonna have to bring on marketing people and brand managers and admin people, and eventually we're gonna have to start doing that. But we want to live by charitynavigator.org or charitywatch.org's guidelines, which those are charity watchdogs. They're the ones that say, this is the top 10 paid employees.
Yeah.
This is how much money flows through. This is,
And do you know what their guidelines are? A quick.
So it's, rule. I think Charity Navigator, to get a 4-star rating, you have to have a 90% flow through. Okay. So 90% of the money that comes in goes right back out. Okay. Currently, Team Overwatch sits at 93%. That's averaged over 4 years.
Okay.
And how we do that, Jenny, my partner, she's also general manager of a really successful restaurant here in San Diego. So, we find time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So neither of us take any pay for it, and we use athletic apparel, the sale of athletic apparel, to pay for all the bills. Okay. That way, when donations do come in, we don't have, if you give me $100, say that's for this family, all $100 goes out. I don't use donations for the lawyers.
Well, so let's talk about the 7% then that doesn't flow through, because you guys aren't even taking a salary and you're still somewhere 7% of.
Yep.
And that's going to
so that does
cost.
So that is so that 93% is total of all of our income, including the apparel, including other things that if people donate to Team Overwatch, then we'll use it for our. But if you donate $100 and say, hey, this is earmarked for this family, that goes straight.
Gotcha.
Through. So if we're doing a big campaign, like we're fundraising for a family right now, if somebody says, hey, this money is for them, absolutely that goes to them.
Okay.
So and really, I used to pay. It used to be higher because I was paying for lawyers out of my own pocket.
Right.
And now we're trying to transition it to where the company is a bit more. It's had a little over 4 years now since it got its LLC.
And if you're able to scale, you're able to touch more lives, and that's just the bottom line.
Yeah,
right?
and
that's good
with
stuff for
growth
people
will
to
come.
know.
With growth comes more expense, but also then we can do more.
Right.
Typically, so far we've been able to help one family a year. I would love to see that grow. Those families, I communicate with them pretty regularly. Mm-hmm. It's been a pretty seeing them, meeting them, and seeing what they're going through is
and so let's talk about that a little bit.
It's hard at times.
Yeah. So how are you picking what projects to put your money toward? Is it families that have been affected by a service member? Gold Star families? What are we talking about here?
So the family we're helping right now, the Clements. Sean Clements was in the military, got out after 13 years, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. Not injured. I think he got hurt during some training, but he got out. Okay. And he works as a air traffic controller with the FAA, and his little boy. So Sean and Julie are the parents. Mm-hmm. They have twins, Cole and Corbin. And Corbin was recently diagnosed with autism, epilepsy, and sensory processing disorder. Oh, so he has, from what I understand, and I'm sorry, Sean, I'm probably butchering it. Yeah. He gets really high anxiety in crowded places, markets, airports, whatever. Epilepsy, which has got to be a nightmare. Seizure. And then he's on the spectrum, right? So they're trying to get a service animal. There's these dogs that can be trained to detect, the chemical precursor to a seizure up to a minute. But that's not covered by insurance, as far as I can tell. Okay. So they found a nonprofit that trains these animals. Basically, it's a $34,000 dog. The nonprofit, I can't even fathom that.
Right.
So the nonprofit says, well, if you raise half first, you give it to us, we cover the other half, and then we train the animal. Oh, so awesome. They started raising money, and a friend of theirs actually knew what I was doing and knew that I was looking for a family to fundraise for. Mm-hmm. So put us in touch and we started talking. So they raised $8,000 on their own before they even asked for help.
Nice.
So then we've held, we did our first trail race in June of this year.
What was that? How long was that?
We did a 15, 30, and 60K distance. Okay. So, nice. And we're already talking with the venue again for next year. We are absolutely doing the race, but we're thinking maybe 25, 50, and 100. Okay. Permitting gets kind of tricky. We'd like to do a 100-miler. But that would be 2 days, so we'll see. Yeah. Again, it's money, right? We don't want to spend too much on a venue that we're not really going to maximize. We're also we've had a really incredible relationship forming with Ragnar Trail Relays. We're going to be at their Los Coyotes venue in November, and we're going to host their beer garden. So we were able to get a bunch of beer donated and some wine donated. So Team Overwatch will be running the beer garden there, and then we keep 100% of the proceeds from that. Nice. So, I mean, that's, so that's how we fundraise for these families, because, how are they supposed to, single income family, right? If it's not covered by, I'm not sure why we pay insurance if something like that's not covered. Yeah, I don't get it.
It's a whole different debate.
Who knows? Right. So the family before them, the Lindleys, severe PTSD, TBI. I'm sure there's plenty of other things that go along with that. Yeah, sure. I think the Jasmine Lindley said there was 26 combat-related injuries. Okay. In addition to the TBI and the PTSD. Jesus. Okay. They don't pay for a service animal. Again, insurance doesn't pay for it. Even though the doctor's hey, a service animal would be really useful.
Yeah.
So we were actually able to get a cheaper dog than 34 grand, but we fundraised for it. We worked with another nonprofit, not a nonprofit, Landheim Canine out in Indiana, and got like they are the guys that train police dogs like around the nation.
Okay.
So they trained this animal. They trained PTS dogs, support animals. Trained him and got him to this family. For a third of what it would have cost just to go out in town and get that kind of animal.
Right.
But they didn't have that kind of money.
Right.
5 kids, single income on military disability.
Yeah.
How? I don't see how that's possible.
Okay.
So that's the kind of stuff we do. In addition to that, we got Justin the dog. And one thing we wanted to help with is what can we do to make him feel I don't know. I think I remember Jasmine and I had this conversation, and she said that he had survivor guilt when he got hit in I can't remember if it was Iraq or Afghanistan. I'm pretty sure it was Iraq.
Okay. Got
hit, the driver was killed, and then Justin was hurt, obviously, and the other 2 guys in the truck were hurt. So bad that they were airlifted out, spent their time in Germany, finally got home for recovery, but never got to say goodbye or pay their last respects to their driver, to their friend. So after we got him the dog, we were able to send Justin and his 2 friends to pay their final respects at the gravesite of their friend who died. This is 6 years later or so.
Wow. And this is an interesting kind of topic unfolding, I think, because whenever you look at a problem, if you look at something in the world and you think, okay, there's a problem with what I'm looking at, right? Clearly there's an injustice here where, people are coming back from this horrific wartime, and then health insurance and the industry that we have in place isn't meeting the mark, right? And why would it? Because the executives that are running a health insurance company, they probably have no fucking idea what it's like to have survivor's guilt because you got fucking bombed in a country 5,000 miles away, right? It's very far for people's ability to fathom.
Even if you want to,
right?
I don't know how
you
begin
get empathetic enough, right?
Yeah.
I mean, rarely. And so what I'm interested in, this is kind of cool listening to you talk about it, because it's when you look at something and there's a problem and a gap here, it's how do you go about putting resources and money in the right place to fill that gap? Because that's another thing that sometimes I think NPOs miss the mark on, is that they try to throw money at a problem, and it's okay, I got it, but money doesn't always, right? Now, if money, it's you identify, okay, we need money so that we can buy this dog. We need money so we can fly in, because the actual problem, survivor's guilt, it's not, you
can't just say, here's $100.
Exactly.
And survivor's guilt, poof. It would be great if it did, right? But nobody would have it anymore because we could just solve it.
Right. Yeah. I've got a friend in Ohio, and he lost his legs, and he lost his wife left, and he, this just terrible story that I don't really want to unfold on air, but essentially the VA took care of him. He made a lot of money afterward. Of course, he got a big payout, and the TSGLI paid out, and his house is paid off, and he has a big bank account, and he is fucking miserable because money did not solve the problem. So it's cool listening to you try to figure out kind of how to plug it in and put thought into where to put resources and money.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Each time, we do have we have programs in place for people that want to fundraise, sponsored athletes, whatever. But when a family comes, when a family approaches us or we approach a family, it's okay, how can we best impact them? We don't have a ton of money,
right?
So even if we did, that's not necessarily the answer. It's okay, so
you're just willing to.
What can we do? What do they really need? In the case of the Lindleys, okay, he needs this dog.
Yeah.
And from what I can tell, from talking to Jasmine after they got the dog, Justin didn't want to get up in the morning before. Mm-hmm. Didn't get up, wasn't, had a hard time getting motivated. And, the last time Jasmine and I talked, he was getting up in the mornings, sometimes before her, helping out around the house, volunteering at Landheim, where they trained the dog. He was getting out and getting, he was finding it in himself to go do things.
Right.
Is that because of the dog, or is that because of he got to pay his rush? I don't know. Maybe, hopefully it contributed.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Right.
So I think that's kind of my motivation is like, okay, yeah, we can put some money towards the problem, but what, I don't want to just like, I don't want to just say like, here's some socks, we did some good, yay.
Yeah,
like,
right, exactly.
I want to try to make a difference. So,
and what is you mentioned an athlete sponsorship program if they want to raise money. What does that look like?
So, I'm a runner. I've done a couple runs where I was fundraising. I've done some bomb suit runs in the bomb suit. So the 74-pound EOD suit.
How long have you gone in that thing?
I've done a 5K and a 10K.
In that thing.
And then at the Ragnar in November, I'll be doing each loop in the bomb suit. So I think that's around 15 miles.
Okay.
So we'll see. That'll be the longest. The longest I've hiked in it was 23 miles.
Okay.
We did that for SoCal Rock a couple years ago. So the sponsored athlete program is essentially, say if you want to come raise money, like you're aware of like the family that we're working on, you want to help. Okay, so pick a race. Like you want to do the Tahoe 200 next year.
Yeah.
Excellent. What's the, the entry fee is, $500. We say, okay, we will cover that, and you will pledge to pay, after the race or whatever, 500%.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So, and I think 500% sounds kind of intimidating at first, but like a 5K might cost $50. So that's not that hard to fundraise.
Right.
Tahoe 200 might cost a little bit more. So
900.
Yeah. And you wouldn't be on your own either. Like
we
have enough connections around the city. You could go to a restaurant and have them donate a portion of the proceeds per however many people come in.
But that's your ROI that you look for is 500%.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay. And then you sign a contract. That our lawyers draw up. So it's a nice legally binding contract.
Sure.
And the idea, and 100% of that goes to the target.
That money's earmarked. It's not going to the foundation.
Yep. Not even a little bit. It goes entirely to that family. Of course, like we don't cut a check to the family. Like for example, with the family we're helping right now, the Clements, like we've already talked to the nonprofit that and we will be making a check payment on their behalf.
Okay.
We don't send the money, and that's common practice for nonprofits.
Yeah.
But we are as transparent as possible. So,
right.
I'll show anybody that wants to see it in my records. So.
Yeah, well, you legally have to, right?
Yeah, and I'm definitely not making any money off of it. So.
Right, exactly. When a mutual friend had introduced me to your charity and had started to connect us, the first thing I saw was your tagline, which is, what have you done to turn your legs today? Is that it?
What have you done to deserve your legs?
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. So, I was young in the community. I met this guy named Andrew Buttrell. Who's a triple amputee. And there's guys in the community, like you don't have to be, an amputee to be, inspiring,
right?
Or to have been through hell. But I've met him and another guy named John Kramer. John Kramer is now on the men's sitting volleyball Paralympic team and won gold, I believe, in Rio. Andrew's doing amazing things on the East Coast. But he's a triple amputee, and he had these shirts. This was right when I was starting Team Overwatch. And it said, what have you done to deserve your legs? And he used the profits from the sale of those shirts to, and he donated it to EOD Warrior Foundation, a nonprofit specifically for the EOD community that helps families out, has scholarships for the kids.
Yep. And you're veteran specific, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, military, yes, specifically. Okay. They can be active or out, like... Of course we vet, but find there's real need, but not EOD.
Gotcha. Okay.
Kind of originally we thought about that, and that was kind of short lived because why? Why? There's plenty of guys that need help.
Yeah.
Guys are that's not gender specific. But he had this shirt, and it wasn't I think a lot of people can kind of take it the wrong way, and I'm pretty sure some people have looked at me sideways, and I think,
oh man, that shit got me fired up.
Right,
I was
and that's how,
I'm going for a run.
When I do my races, I just did a 50K this weekend. And I absolutely wanted to quit. Just didn't want to do it. And I was like, part of it is what have I done? I'm lucky to be able to do this.
Right.
I'm lucky to be able to walk to my bathroom and brush my teeth in the morning. I don't have to do anything. That's easy.
Yeah.
So I owe. That's kind of how I look at it. I owe some respect. These guys that had learned to walk again.
Yeah.
Or learn how to brush their teeth again.
Yeah.
So I talked to Andrew and I was like, hey man, I would love to use that slogan on my shirt. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. You just have to promise to not ever endorse Wounded Warrior Project.
Right.
And I was like, sure, that's easy. So gentleman's agreement. But yeah, so we have that on our shirts.
Are you selling those? Can I buy one of those?
Absolutely. Yeah. The website, teamoverwatchracing.org.
All right, cool. We'll link that up in the show notes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have I race in the shirts. The shorts are awesome. Somewhere between with cotton and technical. But the idea is not well, what have you done to deserve your legs? In sort of a macho or
right
way, but just think about how easy life is when you are. I don't want to say able-bodied because I think that's sort of a non-starter, but when you just haven't experienced that kind of loss, when your life hasn't been changed, when you have all your limbs.
Yeah, of course, and not for nothing, attaching a purpose behind what you're doing. Man, I'm telling you, I was thinking about it after this Tahoe race because, I mean, there's some times where shit got dark in the middle of a 200-miler, right?
How
and
can
it was
it not?
But I raised $3,000 for this race, and I'm like, dude, there's no fucking way I'm taking money from friends and family and not finishing this bitch. I mean, it just can't be a thing.
It's just not.
Right.
It's just,
and,
that's how it is. Yep.
I've not finished shit in the past, of course. I've, coming up short of the mark. But man, there is no better motivation than a worthy ideal behind any kind of physical pursuit. Putting any kind of purpose behind pain, in my opinion, which is why I think I like that slogan so much. I mean, after that, I told some of the followers of the show, I'm not even going to attach. I won't do another thing without attaching some kind of meaning behind it. And part of that's altruistic, and part of it's because it made me fucking a much better athlete, a better person, a better, know what I mean?
I mean, it's no different from looking up motivational posters on Google, right?
Of course.
I think you just sometimes it helps to find that mantra or, sometimes it's hard to do it on your own. Whatever the task is, it can be hard to do on your own.
Exactly.
So why not feel like you have a community or some sort of backing? It lends some weight, I think, if you're trying to support some guys or support a family, or your friends and family are supporting you because you're doing something awesome. You're pushing yourself. You're testing your limits. I know the first time I tried my first ultramarathon, I was just like, this is miserable.
Yeah,
this
right.
is so
you can get into a fucked up headspace for sure.
Yeah, you get, your low blood sugar, you get hypoglycemic, and you just start this, this is dumb.
Yeah, you start asking
and
yourself.
then afterwards, I'm like, man, it's just such a different experience, you're so grateful. I was so grateful to have finished and so grateful to have done it, and I was looking forward to doing it again. We do, so I run, one of my board members came up with an idea to do a keg tow. So she's a big swimmer. So we would tow a keg of beer, homebrewed keg of beer, a mile in the ocean. That was one of our big fundraising events we've done for a couple of years.
Oh, that's bad.
And then and we kind of want to, with these events, we want to, there's sort of a serious undertone to what have you done to deserve your legs? Yeah. Obviously, because people have lost them. But we want to have some fun with it too, and not just be like, hey, we're running a 5K, you guys. Right. Not to diminish 5Ks, but, we want to be a little different. So, the bomb suit runs or the keg tow. So last year when we did it, I challenged my board member. I said, if you can sell 20 of these bricks, these big masonry bricks that she was adding to the the barge, the keg barge, I was like, I'll tow you the bricks and the keg. And she did. I should have said 50 bricks. Yeah. But she sold them, and I was like, all right. So we paddled out, and then I hopped in the water and towed them in
for a mile.
For a mile in the Puget Sound at that, So in the end of September. So, I mean, it's fun also. Yeah. Right. It's fun finding your own limit, and you don't have to be an ultra runner. You don't have to be a swimmer. I'm by no means fast. Right. In either regard. Neither. I just am too dumb to quit. Most of the time.
Yeah, I'm figuring out though. Just I'm transitioning out of the military, starting a nonprofit. I'm doing this stuff with my company, and I'm realizing man, some of the best parts in life are coming from attaching a meaning to trying to find your potential. Yeah. Right, and just playing with that balance is it's a cool thing, and I think it's something that a lot of people could benefit from.
Well, and that's kind of the whole sponsorship thing. I always wanted to get sponsored, and for whatever reason, whether I was lacking the drive at the right age or, whatever it was, it didn't happen. And maybe it will, fingers crossed, right? Yeah, right. But I was like, well, how cool would that be if I could sponsor other people? Like, that's pretty cool. Like, I don't care how old you are. Like, if your kid wants to do it, yeah, let's do it. And let's come up with a way to fundraise that money. I'm about it. Like, whatever it takes, let's sit down and have a conversation. I just really think sponsoring somebody would be really cool.
Yeah.
So, like, and then in addition to that, then they're also fundraising, which helps me out, and then helps
Spreads
out our
the word.
it just spreads, right?
Yeah.
And it's sort of like some other things I'm involved in, you know, where people, it's more about that community drive than like, I don't necessarily care if TO like grows and gets crazy in national recognition. I just want to be able to like help 2 families a year.
Yeah.
And then 3 families a year. Like, cause that's what the point is, you know? So
Right.
Well,
yeah, and I mean that there's a lot to be said for attaching your, you know, your drive or your motivator to the right thing too. Because I've talked to people, you know, I did a show with a guy a while back, Mike Bledsoe, episode 26. I don't know why I remember that. And we talked about, you know, why are you running your business? At the time, I was really business minded. And my first thought, literally for the first year, was like, well, I just want to make fuck you money. Like, I don't know why that's got to be good enough for me, right?
Yeah.
But it will get you to a place, right? It got me motivated, and I started a business, and I got out, and I started hustling. But man, when you have a driver, that's a lot more important, right? Like just never mind, I'm not gonna try to say the word. But just trying to grow this ideal that you believe in strongly. It's so much of a stronger motivator.
Yeah, and you know, there's been times when I wanted to like stop. Like, I mean, like anything, right? Like I'm busy, or you know, I went through a divorce and my kids moved up north. Like that's a distractor, right? Like, to say the least.
Well, to be active duty, you're still deploying and shit, right?
I'm on shore duty right now, but I rotate back in April.
Okay.
So in
It's gonna
April,
get real,
April for 3 years. We'll see what's up. You know.
Yeah.
So like
it's a lot to balance.
Yeah, and you know, so there've been times I'm like, this is like, you know, not enough shirts are selling, or this or that, and you know, but you know, I read over those emails from like the couple families, a couple people that I've been lucky enough to like to work with and help. Like, all right, suck it up,
right?
And quit, you know, and quit being a whiner.
Yeah, right,
you know,
right.
I'm pretty lucky. Like,
I'm
pretty lucky about it, and honestly, like, it helps a lot with, you know, like I don't have any, you know, combat related issues, but like I think I had a pretty rough childhood. So like coming up and like being able to see other people and like help them kind of helps me too, right? Like helps me get that, not just the fulfillment. Like I get a certain amount of fulfillment from my community, like EOD, but on like a personal level, like I reach out to somebody and I really, really like, I'd like to think that they see how much I care.
Right. But it makes you feel better.
And it makes me feel like, okay, this is worthwhile. Like I'm worthwhile doing it. And I mean, it's just, everybody's winning.
Yeah,
right. Like, right? Like,
I mean, it's true, man. It's like, that's what I was trying to kind of get at earlier. It's like, of course, some part of you has these altruistic ideals, and the other part of it is it makes you a better human, you know? Like 2 months ago, I started buying coffee for the person behind me in line every single morning. And honestly, like, people be like, oh, why do you do that? And I'm like, it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, I don't really give a shit if you...
It's not super altruistic. Like, right. I guess you could be, but it's also like, it makes me feel a certain way, which that's easy.
Right.
I'll do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there seems to be some kind of, I don't know, like deep-seated desire in us that we're like hardwired in order to like help. And it's probably has to do with our evolutionary biology coming up, but there's some deep-seated desire there to like help your fellow human or whatever.
Yeah, I completely agree. Look at like, you know, you go to running stores, most of them have like a run club. Mm-hmm. It's free to show up.
Yep.
You look at, you know, November Project, at November Project SD. Like,
are you part of that?
Yeah.
What are they? I always forget about this. Let's just talk about
I don't know a lot. I don't know a ton about it. I just started going like 5-6 months ago.
They started popping up everywhere. There's one in Virginia Beach.
Yeah, there's 43 tribes, I believe, around the world. So they're called tribes, and it's just a workout group. It's free. So here in San Diego, we meet Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:29 a.m. And we have some really great leadership who creates a workout. So you just show up, you act friendly, you know, or be friendly. I'm not much of a morning person. So somewhere it's a bit of an act. Yeah. And so I'm like, fine, hello, good morning. And then they put on this workout for an hour.
Okay.
And everybody's like, you know, they're encouraging you. They're taking, like, the leadership takes pictures, like, and it's just for one, to get fit. Yeah. And two, like, just to, here's some community.
Interact with people.
Yeah.
Cool.
And And then, from there, you see people like, you see job opportunities pop up, you see friendships pop up, you see all this, like people travel to other cities or countries.
Yeah.
Hey, can I crash somewhere? Yeah, here. Like those types of communities, whether it's run clubs or November Project or nonprofits that work together. Because I've had some really amazing luck with companies around San Diego that are like, yeah, I'll absolutely help you. They could help anyone else. Team Overwatch is small.
Yeah.
They don't owe us anything, but people bend over backwards to help us. And I think like on a personal level for me, like that is often what kind of brings me back when I'm like, I don't know if it's worth it.
Yeah.
Like, cause the people that put out time and effort to help me out, like that means a lot.
That's cool. You mentioned something right there, which is like people don't have to help you out. One thing I've noticed from this podcast, from meeting a bunch of people that are just doing really cool things in the world, is if you just start, man, like people are down to help you out. Like people that, like some of my heroes growing up, I've reached out to and they come on the show, right? And I mean, we don't even have an altruistic purpose. We kind of do, but we're just trying to make people fitter, happier, and healthier, right?
Yeah.
But people are down to help you out, and if they're not, they're dicks. Fuck them. Like there's so many people that are, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy.
There's been times when I was like, I just get like super frustrated, which is my friends will be like, oh, that's hard.
Yeah.
But like, or rare.
Right.
There's, you get used to being told no. I'm sure you've experienced it. Any small business owner is going to have been told no a lot.
And people are going to screw you over. Like that'll happen too.
It happens. We've been really lucky. We haven't. And I think that's probably
nobody
growing
wants that on
pain
their
that's
conscious.
yeah, maybe. I think growing pains, like that's a lesson that will come.
Yeah.
We're small enough now, like we have a lot of control and say over things. Hopefully not, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have found, like our friend that introduced us, like she doesn't know me, she doesn't owe me anything,
right?
But like, hey, this could be a cool connection. Made it, and then look what happened,
right?
And that's the trend. That's the common denominator that I'm finding.
Yeah,
like
by and large, people
absolutely.
are down.
Yeah, and a lot of the time it's really easy for them. I mean, I don't want to diminish it, but like it seems like I just had to ask. I just had to put in a little effort to say, hey, like, could you guys do this? Like, what can I do to make it worth your while? I'll come pick it up. Whatever it is.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I'll put in the effort, and they just.
And you know what? I think that's part of it too. Is people have to see that you are down for the cause.
Meet them halfway.
Right? Yeah.
At least.
Right. Because I think a lot of times people reach out to, especially in the business world, I see this entrepreneurial world. People will reach out to the bigger names in the entrepreneurial community. And they're like, hey, I want to pick your brain. And it's like, okay, well, you didn't offer that person anything. You're not showing any initiative at that point. Sometimes people will be like, yeah, like for me, I'd be like, oh, I'll tell you what I know. I don't care.
Yeah.
But depending on how packed your schedule is and how big you are, that becomes a hard thing to accommodate. But when you go that extra mile, like you said, like, hey, I'll meet you halfway. I'll come pick up whatever, that's when people start realizing like, okay, this dude's vibrating at a higher frequency.
Exactly.
And reciprocate.
I would like to think Ragnar, for example, we reached out to them. We do a clothing drive from October to December for San Diego's homeless community.
Okay.
And we reached out originally just to get leftover shirts from their races. And they were like, yeah, like the race director I spoke to was like, yeah, we'll, we just had one, so we'll ship it to you. I'm like, I can pick it up. Like, no, we'll ship it. I'm like, all right. And they're like, you know what? I'm going to reach out to our Utah, because that's where all the shirts from I think the West Coast end up after the race. And like, I'll call them too and have them send you stuff. I'm like, and then it developed. Like, I didn't just ask them for money. I was like, hey, like, how can we get involved with you guys? And they're like, well, do you want to run our beer garden? You could come have your tent here and sell your stuff. Like, we have contracts that you have to abide by. Like, of course, but sure. Right. Like, and then run the beer garden. Like, yeah, I'll do that. Like, we got it. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Just tell, what do you need specifically, and we'll handle it from there. Like, how amazing are they to offer that
awesome.
up?
That makes me want to run a Ragnar. That's cool.
You absolutely should. Yeah. And that's another community thing, right? Like, I've done the road one. So the road one is 12 people in vans, driving. And that's not really my cup of tea. I've done it once. It was a lot of fun, but not. I'm more about the trail running and camping.
Those are loops, right? How's that work?
So it's red, green, yellow, and red loops. Okay. Green's the easiest, yellow is somewhere in the middle, and then red is, hard. But it's all skill level friendly. I mean, there's competitive teams and there's just, non-competitive teams. Okay. You basically camp out, and I've seen some I mean, people bring out like living rooms. Like there's couches and like lights and music, and they're cooking, and people are awesome. And people, you know, a team member might drop out and somebody else come over and be like, yeah, I'll run that loop for you. Like again, community, right?
Yeah.
It's the athletic part's great. And I love that, like the spectrum of ability that's out there, but the community part, everybody's cool. Everybody's talking, they're having fun. Like I did the Ragnar last year. We were just working our tent or our booth, and I ran it in the suit. I just did the green loop in the suit, and people were just like everybody's getting up, everybody's cheering. Like it was awesome. The runners were like laughing.
Yeah.
You know, like who is this idiot?
Right,
like, you know, they're just trying to have some fun, and that's.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And like something too, you know, not for nothing for people that are trying to do something cool in the world, whether it's a business or an MPO or whatever fundraiser. You know, when you hear about people, like I just heard that story about Ragnar, and I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that just heard that story about Ragnar, and they're like, that's fucking cool. I'll run a Ragnar, right? Yeah. Because the millennial generation, you know, there's a lot of things that people can say that's bad about them, but one of the things that's good is that they are cause-oriented, right? They value experiences much over things, mostly because they're poor. But you know what I mean?
It helps. It helps.
Right. But that's like, if you want to make it with your organization in the world today, you can't be a dick, because word of mouth is so important.
Reputation.
You know? Yeah. And with new media, with podcasts and with all blogs and vlogs and all this shit, you can't afford to have someone out there saying like, yeah, I reached out to him and he was a dick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's one experience that comes to mind when you say that. And I was just like, this guy, I just don't think he gets it. And I don't know what his experiences are. I've never met the guy face to face. We've just had some brief interaction on email. So who knows? Mm-hmm. You know, and my tone could have been off. You know, so who knows? But I was like, man, like, what is going on here? Like, this guy is really rough to work with. But I mean,
but you got to think too. It's like, how's that guy's? What's like in that guy's fucking head?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I have no idea what his life experiences are.
Right.
You know, and you know, maybe someday it'll work out. Like maybe we'll meet in a different circumstance and be a completely different conversation. You know, hopefully.
Well, like when you talked about that deep-seated desire to help people out, you can ignore that, and a lot of humans do, right? And you will be fine. But man, you're missing out on something. You're missing out on a really huge big part of life, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, you know, even running an ultra, right? Like I have a friend, and a couple times that we've talked about it, like, you know, you run an ultra or whatever distance you run. Like I refer to ultras because that's kind of what I run.
Yeah,
right? You know, they're kind of solo events, but only really to a point. Like after a while, though, like, well, do you have a crew? Mm-hmm. Is anybody supporting you? Like, are they supporting you there at the race, or are they your friends and family rooting for you? What happens when you finish? Mm-hmm. Like, look how amazing that is. Like, everybody's even like people at DNF, like, do not finish, like, or drop out for whatever reason. Like, they are like, I have seen those guys go and start crewing for other people.
That's the best part of ultra.
Holy crap! Like, that's amazing. You know, like that blows my mind, and that's like I get more out of that. Like, yeah, sure, there's been times when I was just like, you know what, I'm not doing this. Like, I don't, I'm being selfish, you know, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But I find like those times are so far and few in between, because it's so worth it to put yourself out there a little bit, even if it's kind of uncomfortable in the beginning. That payout. Yeah. You know, that karma payout, you know, whatever it is. Like,
right.
Man, it's so worth it. You know? So.
Man, at the Tahoe 200, the winner, and we're actually having him on the show, so I won't spoil too much of it, but This dude ran the Tahoe 258 hours, I believe his time was. Total savage, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at it, his run streak, he's run every day for 7 years or something like that. Animal. But he finished after 2 nights, slept the third night, drove his wife to the airport in Reno, drove back, and then paced somebody through the night the next night. That's like what ultra is. Like that's like the most shining example of how cool the ultra community is.
And you know, even like I've seen people do that, you know, at, you know, the morning workouts. Mm-hmm. You know, people are still out. You know, you have a broad spectrum of runners. Usually, there's running involved in calisthenics, right? You partner up or whatever, and it's not about like, you know, one person winning. Very rarely, you know. Even then, like, it's usually a team effort. You know, like that person didn't get there by themselves, kind of thing. And I think that's the key. And like, I feel like that's kind of the key to a lot of things that we're struggling with as a country or as a race, even. Is like looking beyond.
You mean the human race?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Beyond your personal sphere of influence.
Yep.
Like, how I don't agree with, with your opinion on X, whatever that is. And I'm not referring to anything in particular.
Yeah.
But like, why does he think that?
Right.
Like, sure, he could just be an asshole. Mm-hmm. But probably something is driving you towards that, whether it's the way you were brought up or personal experience in life or combat or marriage or whatever. Like, there's a reason. And like, I think if we try to reach out and understand that,
yeah,
I could be full of shit. I don't know.
I don't think you are, dude. I don't think you are. Because nothing, like, and I mean this seriously, nothing has influenced my life more than realizing that everybody has their lens that they're looking through. I used to be one of these people that would get wicked bent out of shape about like politics in general, right? You know, I didn't want to bring up.
No, I know.
It's so inflammatory right now. But there's so many, and I used to be that guy that would get so pissed, right? And I would be like, "Fuck you," and I was mad all the time.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, you just have to realize, like, this person is going through things in their life. And, all of us know what it's like to fight the tide and keep getting washed back up on shore. Literally all of us.
Really
all of us
saying it.
Yeah, right? Like, all of us know what it's like to be in a situation where we're way over our heads and we're fucking ill-equipped to deal with it. And that manifests and comes out in all of these different ways. And so, for me, I, like, got to a point where I just had to, like, step back and realize, like, whatever it is that you're thinking, it's because, like you said, there's been things in your life, and I have no idea what those are, that have shaped your lens, the way that your worldview. And man, we would all be much better humans if we could just realize that about everybody else around us.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly it. Like, I've definitely struggled with anger in the past, and it's still a thing. It's better than it was. I hope others see that as well, right? Of course. But I think, like, if you, and that's okay. You're entitled to feel how you feel. Like, your experiences, shaped you in the way that you are.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no fault or blame.
Right.
But like, okay, so I know I get frustrated about politics or about, whatever the topic is. Like, there's things I get super riled up about. But then it's like, okay, well, what is the message here? Like, why do they think that? Why is it this? Like, okay, I can be angry or frustrated by it, but like, is the way I'm like projecting myself or the way I'm, talking, is that gaining anything, or am I just being a loud asshole? Like,
right.
Like,
well, yeah, okay, and that's like that. Improve your argument, don't raise your voice.
Exactly. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, okay, so I need to crank that around and try to have, like, see it from their perspective, and at least try to put mine aside for a moment and understand what they're dealing with. Yeah. So, I mean,
I think when you do that too, like, that anger, it gets replaced with more empathy, right? It gets,
well, you're learning, right?
You're like compassionate. Yeah. You're like, right. And then if you really feel strongly about what X, Y, or Z topic, then at that point now you have, like, you're much more well equipped to try to get your point across.
Well, exactly. Right. That's exactly it. Like, and if you can, I would like to think, like, if you put effort into something, then they'll put effort into you.
Right.
So, like, if you see that I'm trying to, like, all right, like, this guy's agitated, whatever, but he's making an effort to hear me and hear where I'm coming from and understand. Well, maybe you'll do the same when I'm trying to explain it. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's working, but I definitely try it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that is literally the key right there, right? Yeah. To if you want to make any kind of a difference, which is cool because this conversation really just came full circle. But if you want to make any kind of a difference, you have to approach things with that attitude, right? And then it goes back to the fact that if you have an organization and you come off with that first attitude that we talked about, you're going to be highly ineffective at getting your point across because you're going to alienate a fuckload of people.
You're going to be slamming doors way faster than opening them. Yeah.
Right.
And that's I've definitely been like that one guy I was working with on via email. Like, we were definitely, the door was open to, like, just be shitty back and forth.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? I don't know what his problem is, but I don't know what his problem is. Right. Like, so I'm not going to, like, antagonize or be antagonistic because, he may think I'm coming at him. I don't, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
We're being combative, and okay, so let's just let it lie. We'll just call it good, and then, like.
Yeah, and I mean that's why I said, like, there's going to be, by and large, most people are down to help you out or to do what they can. And if they can't, fuck them. Like, I mean,
yeah, and it doesn't. Yeah, it's just like, okay, this isn't for us. There's nothing here.
There's 7 billion people in the world.
Good luck.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll figure
exactly.
it out.
And we have our goals and our agendas, and I try to set my my Master Chief, who I largely consider like my mentor. I don't know if he knows that. He might now, but like he likes to say, set high standards but low expectations. I'm like, okay, so like I try to bring that to Team Overwatch. Like, I want to shoot for the moon. Like I have all these crazy ideas.
Yeah. Yep.
But it can be really hard to achieve those. So like, okay, what's realistic? What can I actually I can still shoot for the moon, but but this is what we're doing now. Let's make sure I do it the best I can, and then eventually I'll get there.
Yeah.
Eventually we'll get this or that, and it's coming together. It is. It's slow, but I mean that's not bad.
Right, and I mean that applies to people too, because if you're running an organization where you're relying on people's charitable efforts, that's a lot different than paying somebody.
That's a big ask.
Right, it's a big ask.
Everybody's got their hand out.
Yes, you have high expectations because you're so passionate about what you're doing, and it's going to be really hard to for everybody to meet those expectations, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean everybody's got their hands out. That's why that's part of why I wanted to do athletic apparel. When we sell it, not only are you helping us, you're repping us,
you're supporting the cause,
but a portion of every sale, if every item sold goes into our charity account. So like if we don't have a family on deck, we have money set aside. Like we are constantly growing a pot of money, so when we do get that family, we can immediately start trying to assist them, whatever they need. Yeah. So I forgot where I was going with that.
Yeah. Well, no, that's cool. I mean, and that needs to be done, right? You need to be fit for service. Like that's kind of the problem. It's like you see a lot of people that want to do good. This is honestly one of my problems with a lot of times, that like hippie mentality, right? It's like you have you're trying to proliferate. I can't say that word. I fucking tried it earlier. You're trying to you care so much about all these causes, and you're a lot of people are very love centric, right? But at the same time, if you are ineffective in what you're doing, if you're only talking about it, then you can only make so much of a difference.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so with you, when you kind of have this hybrid ideal between the nonprofit and the for-profit selling the apparel, that makes you fit for service. That allows you to impact people in a bigger way.
And that gets me right back on track, actually. So it's like, I don't want to just say, hey, can I have some money? Like, well, look, if you buy this shirt, which like our shirts, our cotton ones are excellent quality. Mm-hmm. Our technical ones are by New Balance, just with we rebranded them. Yep. So we're selling high quality athletic apparel. So you're getting something. Yeah. And then we get a little bit too. Like you're supporting our mission. Yep. You're supporting a family either currently or in the future. Mm-hmm. So I like that versus just, hey, I need money.
For sure.
Even when I do like a pledge run, like when I did a 100-mile ultra, my first, like people pledge money per mile. And that was awesome. I was really grateful that they did it, but that's still a hard ask. You're still basically just saying, hey, give me money. Right. So I really wanted to try to give people a reason to send money my way, sure. So they can buy, some nice running apparel or the shorts. I have some friends that, lift or do CrossFit and they love the shorts, like whatever it is. Like I try to cater, of course, to that market. Mm-hmm. That's trying to be a businessman, right? Yeah. Not that I know what I'm doing, but trying, but then like, I just like that more than just sticking out my hand and expecting, right? Like I can't expect people, like everybody's got, I don't care who you are, you probably have a hard, like money's hard to come by for everyone. Right. Nobody, very few of us are just like whatever and just don't care.
So you're on the right, you're giving value. Right, and that's
the goal. Yeah, that's the goal.
So the Lionheart Kicker is the final question that we ask every guest, and I actually should have front-loaded you with this, and I totally fucking did it. But it's okay, it takes a minute. But this can be based on the things you've done in the military, or the ultras, or with the NPO, whatever you want. If you were given a platform for the day, and you could give advice, and it were guaranteed that it would be translated to every language, all 7 billion people in the world would hear what you said. They might not all follow it, but they would definitely hear your advice. What would you tell people?
So, the first thing that came to mind is a quote from a guy. His name is Draper Kaufman. He's the father of Navy EOD and today's Navy SEALs.
Okay.
And actually, I'm sorry, it's not his quote. It's a letter his father sent him in World War II. His father at the time was an admiral that was in charge of all the destroyers. Mm-hmm. And his father wrote him a letter, and it said, as long as you've tried your damnedest, who the hell cares what people think? Mm. And that might seem sort of confrontational, kind of along the lines of like, what have you done to deserve your legs? But I like the idea, like, we all have those days when we just want to stop. We just want to, the kids are annoying, or the job, my boss sucks, or my wife is bitching at me, whatever it is. Yeah. We all have those days where we just want to quit. But don't. Right. Keep pushing. Put in that effort, because people will see that. Sure. And then they'll reciprocate. Yeah. Maybe not right away. And I definitely have friends who they're going to hear this and they're going to be like, yeah, put the effort in, and then you get that reciprocation. Yeah. And you'll get that support, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we put a ton of external pressure on ourselves in our day to day. So much. And that's fucking great advice. Cause that's really how I've come to have to look at it. It's like, at the end of the day, man, if you tried your damnedest, if you gave everything that you had, it's nothing else. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. There's nothing else you can ask of yourself.
That's it. Yeah. And then take it, like, and allow yourself, like, okay, I did my best. Right. Okay. Yeah. Good. That's it. Good on me. Sure. Like, try to be happy with that. And I think if you can couple that with what we were talking about earlier, as far as like caring, making an effort to see outside your sphere, mm-hmm. like your experiences and your beliefs, try to bridge that gap with other people. You don't have to agree with it. Just maybe get educated about it. Yeah, like what it is, like why they think like that, or where they're coming from that might make them think like that. Then I think, if you can combine those two, like, and I think they're kind of one and the same, like effort, right? Yep. I think the end result, I think, is a more solid community. Yeah. I think if a lot of people had your similar mindset, the world would be a better place. I appreciate that. Yeah. David Lyman, thanks for being on. I appreciate it. Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to Lionheart Radio. I hope that the information from today's show will make you fitter, happier, and healthier. For the show notes of this episode and every episode, head to www.lionheartrad.io. Yep, just like Lionheart Radio. And please, if you have the time, head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us to know that we're on the right track in delivering you reliable information and value. As always, feedback is welcomed. If you have any comments on the show or would like to suggest a guest, send me an email at rick@luavive.com. That's LUAVIVE.com. Thanks for your support, and we will see you next time. Bitch, I feel good. Don't I look stupendous? My shine is so endless, and shit you can do to end this. Even when I'm dead, niggas still gon' bump that chip shit. Coke, white, Escalade on cinches for you dipshits. So you won't forget this. Midwest nigga be the coldest.